Welcome to Linking into Sales. This is Martin Brossman.
I'm Greg Hyer.
And I'm Elyse Archer.
And this is our Thanksgiving show where we're going to be talking about what we're thankful for, but we want to begin with mentioning our sponsor, which is NC State Technology Training Solutions. And Greg, would you talk about what they have to offer?
They have classes for you to get you smarter at work. How do you like that? That's simple. That should be the new slogan, right? So if you want to get smarter with Excel or smarter with social selling, or maybe you want to get your A+ certification, maybe you want to get your social media management certificate, because only Martin and Karen kind of offer one at NC State, right? Or maybe you want to learn about Google Analytics or some other platform or something like that. So NC State Technology Training Solutions has a number of really great courses that you can take there, earn some continuing education credits, and just become smarter and more competitive in work. And we all know that you have to stay competitive. We're in an economy where you have to stay competitive, and the only way to do that is to continuously learn. So if you're in the Triangle area, definitely go out to linkingintosales.com/NCSUTTS to learn more about the courses and take a class that's going to be coming up soon. They also have a new calendar that's going to be coming out for January, February, March, and April. That'll be coming out very soon. So look out for some new classes there. I have a new course that I've developed on doing advertising on social networks.
Mm-hmm. And of course, our LinkedIn trainings there as well, which is excellent. Which leads to one other class to mention is we have a program on socialselling.training. We'll mention more at the end, but we want to ask a favor of you. We're going for a certain number of people by the end of the year to take advantage of the free offering of how to set up a LinkedIn profile and a Twitter profile, training online at socialselling.training. That price goes up at the end of the year, and we want you to go there after the show and today and sign up for it, because we want all our fans and listeners to get this free of charge. And Greg, at the end of the course, you get a certificate you can put on LinkedIn.
Absolutely. We actually have a nice little certificate that after you've taken a few quiz questions throughout the course, once you pass, which is not difficult to do, then you can actually take that certificate and link it into your LinkedIn profile and actually show folks that you are working on the journey to earning your complete social selling certificate as certification from us, as well as your continuing education as a salesperson, which I'll tell you, not very many salespeople actually do continue their education. So here's a competitive advantage for you. If you want to get smarter about sales, we got a place to do it, and you're listening to the right show. Go out to socialselling.training, not .com, socialselling.training, and sign up for those two courses now. Because if they change, well, first of all, at the end of the year, they're going to go up. They're going to go up in price. All right, we're going to gradually increase the price until we get out to the price point we want to get at. But if you secure the course before the end of 2016, if we make any changes to that course, that content inside of that course, you get to come back and take that course again for free. How do you like that? You can retake for your life, the rest of the life. Is there something with Monty Python I can use for that?
There is, but Elyse, I want your comments on this course because you've taken a look at it. So
I have, and I refer any of my clients to it who are struggling with LinkedIn or with Twitter. So I would say it's excellent. You guys are probably more well-versed. Well, not probably. You are definitely more well-versed in the technical aspects of LinkedIn and Twitter than I am. So I've learned a lot from it. So get it while it's hot, guys. Get it while you can before the price goes up. And I'm not saying that just because I love you two like brothers. I'm saying that because you do that good.
You're saying it because we're paying you. No, we're not. Sorry.
Well, no, you're not. So I could really say whatever I wanted about it, actually.
That's right.
That'll be the next episode.
Absolutely. Before we start being thankful, I would like to introduce a little friend that's in our household, and I'm holding here for our listeners an Amazon Echo. I don't know if you've heard it, but Greg and I have it, and we're working that at least we'll have one addiction to it too. And I want to ask her a question, and it's, what is social selling? So if you'll let's try this out. Alexa, what is social selling?
Social selling is the process of developing relationships as part of the sales process.
That's not too bad.
No, it's not referencing us.
No. Well, let's try one more.
Try again, Alexa.
Okay, let's try one more. Alexa, play Linking into Sales.
I can't find the song Linking into Sales.
Excuse me. Alexa, play the podcast Linking into Sales. Alexa, play the podcast Linking into Sales.
Getting the latest episode of Linking into Sales Social Selling Podcast. Here it is from TuneIn.
Welcome to the Social Selling Podcast by
That's awesome.
linkingintosales.com.
Okay, that's cool. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But
Hey, if anybody's got an Alexa, or has an Amazon Echo and wants to go ahead and ask that question, we've told you a number of times before, the podcast is available on TuneIn, and Amazon and TuneIn have a great relationship. So you can actually pull in the podcast at any time on your Amazon Echo.
But guys,
Greg,
we need to do a song now. I mean, clearly, if she can't find our song, we need to record a Linking into Sales song. So
that's cool.
I'm just going to throw that out there for a future.
That's cool. We could talk to Raj Bates that does comedy and humor and see if we can get together a song. That we did the show on How to Be Funnier. He makes songs.
Are we going down the rabbit hole of Weird Al Yankovic now?
Yeah, we are.
Yes.
Totally.
All right.
What else do we have in tips, Greg, that are critical for people to know right now?
I'm interested actually for one particular tip, and I want Elyse, I need your help with this one. I need you to take your fingertips that are on your left hand and just hold them up just a little bit.
You mean like this?
Yeah, there you go. Someone's got some bling on there.
Hold that up. So for our listeners, she's holding up her left hand right in front of us, and on one of the fingers is this massive diamond. Massive diamond. It's like blinding me with the light.
And it's actually somehow tied into social selling because he tried to do it on Facebook Live last week when he proposed, which is hilarious to me. But this is what I learned about Facebook Live. Somehow the video did not work because the frame was like too thin. So none of it got captured. Thank God, because I ran away like a lunatic and forgot to say yes because I was too excited. But so I guess your social selling tip from that is get your video game straight if you're going to try to Facebook Live, right?
Right. Yeah, that's it. That's great. But it did come up. I just remember seeing the feed, and there was like a picture of you, the two of you there and stuff.
We did get a photo. We figured that part out. We were not such technical imbeciles that we couldn't get a photo. So we did get that part done. We just, couldn't rock the Facebook Live.
So Elyse and I are threatening have a advice from people that have had a practice marriage of what works. And now I've been happily married for many, many years with the woman of my dreams. And I say she's one of my angels. And so we might have a sideshow. You have to watch. That won't be business related. Right, Elyse?
Yes, and Greg is terrified of what might come out on this show.
Oh my goodness!
So Greg will have nothing to do with this show if we do.
You know what? I'm good where I'm at. Thank you.
That's right.
I'm not giving anybody relationship advice. Both of you have fun with that one.
That's right.
So,
I don't know, Greg. In fact, you're keeping 5 kids together with your wife. The two of you need hats off. So no blood's been spilled. I call that a victory. So you're doing all right in my book.
And I appreciate that. But Elyse, you have some catching up to do because in January we're going to be celebrating our 14th anniversary. And yes, I do. I think we've mentioned before that 5 kids. The only reason why we're probably still together, well, one, of course, we love each other, but 2, we're pretty darn stubborn when it comes to that kind of thing. So if there's any piece of advice that I could give to you and your fiance is to be just love stubborn. How's that?
Okay. Okay, love that. Love stuff. All right,
right.
now that we've done it for Thanksgiving, I'm going to get to give my advice. Since you did it, it's going to be one of our Thanksgiving
Can
tips.
you do it in less than 6 words?
I can. I'll see if I can. The deepest, ready? You need to pause a minute. The deepest, he's laughing too much.
Sorry,
Will
we're,
you
we're
mute your
good now.
mic so I can actually speak? I feel like I'm on one of the TV shows. All right, ready? The deepest love comes from a long-term commitment of two people to relate to each other, and that evolves over time. And that, in my view, if it comes from just your feelings, it has almost no prayer of long-term survival because the feelings go up and down. But the commitment that I'm married to the most beautiful woman in the world is not an option for discussion for me or her. In fact, if she sometimes says she's not looking up to snuff, I said, you need to be careful, Barbara. You're talking about my wife. Okay. So
I
that's
like
my
that.
little tip. Is that all right? So, all right, we got a tip. We've already done this, and Elyse gets a chance to say something, and then we move on to sales before we lose all our audience thinking we've gone to a relationship.
Hey,
Elyse?
this is a relationship show. With social selling is about
I know it is about
relationships, right?
All about relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe it's a little bit at home, but all right, go ahead, Elise. You're good.
What am I giving a tip on marriage? Is that what we're doing?
Marriage
Oh.
and long-term relationships working for those who want it. Not everyone wants it, and I respect that too. What's your tip?
Yeah, I guess I would say I think the biggest thing that I've seen with Jason that's worked well for us, and we're not married yet. We've been together 2.5 years, but what's really worked well for us is we both keep growing. Like we're interested in a lot of the same things, and we both focus on continuing to grow. So there's always something new to talk about. There's always like a change going on, something that we can kind of work on together. And so that, to me, that keeps it interesting, right? I think, my mom's a relationship counselor, and she tells me a lot of times the issues that come into her office are people who just like, there's nothing new anymore for them to talk about. It's gotten stale. And so I think that's one of the things that's really helped me and Jason just make it to this point, is that we try to always be learning and growing and trying new things together.
That's very interesting.
That's wonderful. All right. Well, we planned, we had a pre-discussion. This wasn't going to happen, and look what happened. So I think this is about what we're thankful and grateful for. And I'm grateful for the relationships in my lives, because I'm an only child. And I remember as only child, not only an only child, when I was younger, most of the kids in my neighborhood were adopted. And my mother told me I came home once in tears as a little kid going, why wasn't I special enough to be adopted like they were? So I really, I really figured out in life that I had a blessing, and that I could adopt the people as brothers and sisters I wanted, versus biological ones that most people are often fighting with half the time. And so, but also in business, I mean, I'm self-employed, and I'm really grateful for, this is a time of year where I attempt to take counsel on who's added to my life, which both of you have, and really think of that in business as well. Just sometimes we don't take the time, even in professional, just say, John, you really contributed to me in this way, or Jane, you just contributed to me in this way. And at the end of the class I taught yesterday, I just went up to this one person and says, your smiling and presence and attention helped inspire me to be a better teacher today, along with a number of other students here. And it was something that was kind of in my head, I was aware of, because my teaching style is very dependent on interacting with the audience. And it doesn't mean they all have to like me or not, but her listening brought out a richer version of me, and I could tell it. And I wanted to find a business appropriate way to say it, and it went over very well. I mean, it wasn't, it's very important to me that I don't have some other agenda or it's misconstrued. So that's where I'm going to start with in appreciation, is just a time of year to start pausing and going, have I said something to people professionally that's appropriate to appreciate how they've added to my life? So I'm going to take that on as a commitment over this holiday time. Over to you.
Mm-hmm. Greg, you want to go?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. Okay, so I'm first of all, I think it's just, it's pretty clear. I'm thankful for both of you, but we'll get to that in just a second. So that's let's keep this super interesting for the for the folks that are listening to the show as well. So, but if I wasn't thankful for you guys, then I may not be here, right? Or
right.
Yeah. So. But anyways, I'm going to zero back into social selling for a second and just some of the things that have happened this year. And I think one of the things that I'm grateful for is, and this is going to sound a little weird, but Microsoft buying LinkedIn. As much as people really dislike how big corporations come in and take over social networks, or social networks become mega corporations like Facebook or things like that. I think that the Internet Summit was this past week, okay, and I have a number of things that I'm actually thankful for regarding the Internet Summit as well. But the Internet Summit is a series of events that actually happen all across the country. It's also known as the Digital Summit in certain cities. But if you get a chance, go out to internetsummit.com. Please go check it out. But Raleigh happens in November, and it happens over at the Raleigh Convention Center. Like 2,500 people came to this event. It was fantastic. It's very affordable to go to. But they had this pre-workshop that was going on. And I talked with Holly, who's the director at NC State Technology Training Solutions, sponsor of the show. And she went to the session and she said, basically that she felt icky coming out of the session because the person who was doing the instruction was really bashing the fact that Microsoft bought LinkedIn. Now, and sure, you might be like, Microsoft, they're just going to take and absorb it, and it's just, going to take all the data out of it, and we're not going to have a platform for us to take and actually find people on and hopefully develop relationships with. But I don't really think that's the case. I think that the fact that Microsoft is going to be pretty much a standalone entity owned by Microsoft, I think that says a lot for what's going to end up happening with LinkedIn, as we'll come to discover next year. Okay, because it goes to closings. If it hasn't closed yet, it goes to closing before the end of the year. And once that acquisition is finished, then yes, we're going to see better integrations. LinkedIn now will have money. Just as long as they don't become, this, an organization that's only worried about selling licenses, kind of like the culture at Microsoft has been, then yeah, I think things will be good. So I'm thankful that LinkedIn had got $26.2 billion to invest in itself, hopefully. Actually, I don't think it did, because Reid Hoffman probably walked away with a few billion dollars. So if you need an investment, go see him. But I'm thankful. I'm thankful that Microsoft actually bought LinkedIn. So, Elyse, what are you thankful for?
Oh, I'm thankful for so much. Some of the stuff is social selling related, and some of it isn't. I put together just social selling ideas for today, and then I think I'm actually going to do something a little bit more personal to start, and then we'll roll into social selling from there. But I think one of the biggest things that I'm thankful for right now is challenges, which sounds a little bit counterintuitive, but up until probably like 3 years ago, I had gone through a lot of challenges in my life, and was in a job where I was paid well, but I was working really hard just to stay at the top of the rankings, and I didn't feel like I was necessarily doing the best job for my clients or offering them the best product or service with what I was selling. I was in a marriage that was not great, which I've talked with you guys about a little bit, and just in a point in my life where I felt like I wasn't living in congruence with who I really want to be and who I am. And for anyone out there who's listening who may feel like that or have experienced that in the past, you kind of reach a point where the pain of staying the same outweighs the pain of changing. And that's where really amazing things start to happen. And so it's really only been a couple years since I made a bunch of changes and got out of the relationship and got out of the job and for me, it was really like stepping through fear and being willing to just say, I don't know what's on the other side of this, but I'm willing to experiment and hope that it's better than what this is. And amazing things start to come into your life when you do that. And I met Jason, I met you guys, and had the opportunity to come on the show. You had the opportunity to leave corporate and start my coaching business and partner with Southwestern, people I've just admired for so long. And so, you know, when I'm coaching and working with clients, it's like a lot of times we're afraid of challenges. We fear them because we just don't want to experience that pain. We're naturally pain averse, right? But that's, I mean, it's really like, you know, iron being refined in the fire. Like that is where you grow. That's where you experience just amazing things in your life. And so I look back on everything good that's happened to me in my life, and it's all been spawned with a challenge. And so I'm really grateful for those. And I know there are more to come, but I also know that, you know, I'm strong enough to handle them, and I will. And so I would just encourage any of you out there, if you feel like you're going through a challenging time, especially around the holiday season, sometimes it can be really hard, whether it's a work challenge or a family challenge. Just step into that fear, whatever the thing is that you feel like you need to do in that challenge, be willing to go through that fear. One of my favorite quotes that I've tried to live my life by is, everything you ever wanted is on the other side of fear. And I've seen that proven true time and time again in my life. And so I'm grateful for them. And I also just want to encourage you guys, if you are going through a challenge right now, know that there's something good on the other side if you're willing to step through that fear.
Very good. Very good. That's, I like opportunity. I think that's a great thing to be thankful for. And of course, we're going to be thankful for Elyse joining the show. And you know, it's better than listen to just, you know, two white guys talk all the time, right?
Yeah, I agree, especially you.
I spray tanned last night. I like mixed it up a little bit.
That's right.
You got your hair done differently too. Looks good.
I got my hair done. Got it all going on today.
No, I'm a huge advocate of the richness that diversity gives, and we want more as well. Greg and I have a commitment to that. But I'm going to go into something of what I was really thinking about this show and what I'm grateful for. And it happened. This is something happened when I was doing a talk for a thing called Jobs for Life. And Jobs for Life is a faith-based career thing that works with people wherever they are, from getting out of prison to executives trying to reinvent themselves to get in the job market. And I went there, and it was really interesting because it was a new Jobs for Life. Whitney Hill does it. And the people who were supposed to be there, 3 of them got jobs and the other one was sick. So it was only the team. So 6 people in the support team. And I gave this talk about rebuilding your LinkedIn profile the way Greg Hyer and I have taught on the course, as one of the best personal development programs you could ever do. And it was just weird. It came, you know, it was just the staff there. Okay. You know, none of the people were able to make it. And I realized how grateful I am for this idea of people taking their LinkedIn profile and making it come to life with the compelling and exciting stories that would be of interest to their customers, having a secondary gain of enhancing and embracing their own accomplishments in an authentic way. And this is an older concept, but this is really a fundamental principle that I saw back in 2006 when I started teaching LinkedIn, is if you stand in the future you want as a sales professional or anyone, and then you look back at your past over LinkedIn, and then you bring up every single thing that contributed to it and tell how that contributed to it from the lens of a customer looking at you. So you're adding that with it, you know, like you're looking at it, you start embracing the return on investment of you over your whole life. And there's a secondary gain of validating your own worth. And unless you're a narcissist that, you know, just thinks you're great at all costs, many of us have multiple aspects of ourselves, some with high confidence and some without. I surely am. And that's something that I realized I was so grateful for, that I've help people do it, but also that people have started discovering that. And that's something infused in, of course, our free training as well. But to me, if you haven't done that, that's to me something to do. And so that's a little odd for what are you grateful for this year? But it's a rediscovering a fundamental thing with LinkedIn. So over to you, Greg.
Well, I think, let's see. One thing that I am thankful for is my Twitter feed not looking like my Facebook feed. How's that? As you know, it's after November 8th, whatever, 8th or 9th, whatever the election day was. But I voted early, so I can't remember what the date was for that Tuesday. But my point on this is that I had a lot of people on Facebook who it's a pretty diverse group of folks who I'm friends with. So obviously I'm going to get people who are very opinionated on their own side of where they wanted to, whether it was for Trump or for Hillary or for Gary Johnson or for nobody or just against somebody. Right. But Twitter, thankfully I'm only following people who are smart enough not to share the political crap in my stream. So I'm thankful that those two streams are completely different. I think that though there's a kind of a little foresight in what's going to eventually happen with social is that unfortunately the line is going to be blurred between what's personal and what's professional in our lives. And I think having multiple social networks helps us kind of keep some of that stuff separated, because there are going to be some people who, they're on Facebook, they're going to see that post. You may feel, strongly one way and they feel the opposite, and they're not going to want to work with you. Right. So I think there's a need to have a professional identity when you are online. And I think just knowing, looking at what happened at Facebook and what happened on with Twitter, and I would say Google Plus, but it doesn't seem like anybody's really using it in a public way any longer. And then how I think we're just kind of working on LinkedIn as well. I'm grateful I had a place to go where there was no politics.
Because on Twitter, you can choose the feeds you follow. So
Yeah.
even though there's a lot of political rants on there, you can narrow that down, make lists, private list, public list, and filter it. And I think that's a really interesting point, because there's a lot of views. Oh, Twitter wasn't bought. No, Twitter is not climbing its stock at the right level. But Greg and I can't tell you how many first-time relationships professionally started on Twitter. I saw them on the news. I commented on Twitter. We started dialoguing. I connected on LinkedIn, and sometimes I then became friends or interviewed them or enhanced the relationship. And that pathway wouldn't happen without Twitter. And so I want to footnote that I think people underestimate the power of relationship enhancement too with Twitter.
I certainly agree, and it is unfortunate that that both, well, a whole bunch of companies looked at possibly acquiring Twitter and have decided not to, because it's just, to them, like for example, Disney decided not to. They decided not to because they thought there was too much hate discussion out there on Twitter, and there probably is, but Disney doesn't need to be associated with it, because they're basically Fantasyland. That's where you go to be happy. It's a happy place, right? And Twitter's not always a happy place. So it would be kind of interesing, though.
I heard there's some places in Boulder, Colorado, people go for happy time too.
After this election, I think there's 5 more places you can go to get happy like that.
Right. I don't want it. I have dyslexia already. Yeah. I don't need more spaciness.
Martin, you never know. It could straighten you out, though.
No, I don't think so. I think I've got my own natural THC I can activate with my imagination.
Just meditate, right?
Just meditate, and I do. Yeah. Didn't mean to derail you, but go ahead, finish yours, and we'll pass it over to Elyse. Of what grateful for.
Yeah. So, well, maybe we'll go to a conference in Massachusetts where they just.
No. Yeah.
Okay. No, we'll stay in the South. So, anyways, no. While it is unfortunate, I think where I was going with this was that, you saw how Amazon bought Washington Post earlier. It was either this year or the year before, early this year or late last year. Amazon bought the Washington Post. They own them, right? So I can see. My hope is that in the future, the near future, that Twitter is acquired by another type of organization that is interested in buying media properties, because Twitter is not a technology company. While they have developed a very cool technology for us to do microblogs, and they have Periscope, which they acquired, but they really haven't. They're not a technology company. They are definitely defined today more as a media company, because they're in essence what people are thinking, right? And what they're reading and what they're doing and what's happening. So that's more media, right? So we have to find, hopefully they can court somebody who is interested in owning a media company, no matter how good or how bad that particular, input is into that platform. So, but anyways, that's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful I have a couple different places where I can go. If I need to escape the noise that's on social, I have a place I can go for that as well. So
okay, over to you, Elyse.
I am grateful for the ability that I have, because of social selling, to give my clients really unique gifts that are a little bit different. So one of the conversations I've been having with clients, especially in this past week, is just going to the holiday season. What kind of gifts do I get for my very best clients? And how do I do something that's different than the cheese basket or the wine basket or the chocolate? Although, if anybody wants to send me one of those, I would be completely fine with that, especially the cheese one. But, when we're thinking about servicing customers and how do you stand out from everybody else they're working with, we should really be thinking about how do we give a truly unique gift that's going to stand out. And so something that I learned from my leader, AJ, at Southwestern, is every quarter she does a review of all of her top 20 clients' social media accounts to see what are they posting about, what are they talking about, what are they liking, what are they sharing. And whatever she finds on there, that dictates what type of gift she'll give them. And so I've started doing that. And I've got a spreadsheet that I keep just running ideas of gifts for people. And, when it comes time to give a gift, you've got great ideas that are customized to them right there. And so I was able to do this recently for a client who sent me 2 really good referrals. And I was looking on his Facebook feed just to find out what he likes. And I saw that he had a post from a couple weeks back about being out to dinner with his beautiful bride, and they were enjoying a glass of his favorite kind of wine, Dakota Shy wine, which I'd never heard of. But I thought, okay, well, I'd love to send him a thank you gift for these referrals. So went to the website. It's a very nice bottle of wine, but it was worth it because of the referrals that he sent me. And he just got that bottle of wine this week, and he just sent me a text and he said, wow, thank you. You really listened. Like, I'm super impressed with you. And I wrote him back and said, well, you didn't really tell me that you liked it. I kind of just stalked you on Facebook. However, do this for your clients too, and they'll love it. And so it's a way we can stand out, and it's a way we can deliver exceptional service to people. It's really taking it a step beyond just giving a gift when you give something that's truly personal to that person.
Oh, that's awesome. I would have to say this. I appreciate you letting me know that you like cheese, but I can tell you that I have, with 5 kids and a wife, I might only be able to send you some single slices of cheese. And I'm really sorry about that, because you're worth so much more than that.
If you could throw in a Ritz cracker with it, it would be all good.
Those amazing packages with a little bit of cheese and crackers? Greg's going to get you one of those.
They're good. I don't want to like them, but I do.
My wife goes to Costco all the time, so I'll make sure she picks you up a big old box of Ritz crackers. They come like 100 to a package or something like that. You'll be set for a while. So I think that's
totally a plug. So I got cheese.
So I think you bring up an excellent point about with being thankful with social selling, to be able to take and help you identify what are the things that people like, and how can you actually get them to remember you by acknowledging what they're interested in. And I think that's something that often is missed when people think that they're social selling, but they're really, really not. And I think that's a great example of taking and using a tool that's available, using information that has been shared, and then being creative, to a degree, being creative with how you can be, show your appreciation for that particular person. So that's an excellent example, an excellent tip. There was a post that was on LinkedIn that I've been commenting back and forth on, and I'll share the link to the show notes on this, but someone from SAP actually wrote an article saying that social selling was spam. And I was immediately offended by this because, and actually I would be, but he basically said that that because somebody sent them an email that had a pitch in the first, InMail, and had a pitch in that first message, he deemed social selling as being spam. When in actuality, what he was doing, what he was seeing was a cold call. And a cold call is not just pick up the phone and start dialing a number and hoping that that person picks up so that way you can, pitch them or get an appointment set. Cold calling is doing cold outreach and pitching immediately, and doing this in volume, right? So, so I immediately went into a kind of a miniature rant on this, and I think some people agreed, some people disagreed, but the premise of the article I think was a little bit off, because he ended up pretty much summarizing that, if you're using LinkedIn and you're using InMail to pitch somebody, your social selling is spam, and that's not social selling. That's cold calling, and that's it. Okay, I'm done. That's my rant.
But it's important. What I want to say is something I'm grateful for is that the conversation of social selling is coming up more, so we can have debates. What is it and what isn't this year? And I really think it's reached more critical mass, where, Greg, the fact that he said it's just spam or it's not or whatever it is, I'm grateful for we're having the discussion, because distinctions come into existence through conversation. That, it's an idea. And to me, the way you refine the idea is distinguishing against people who view it's not and what it is, people who want to blur the distinction, and then people finding the utility of a concept, of an idea. Does it give utility? And social selling is something that to me is a tool, just like picking up a screwdriver, and we're distinguishing more what the tool is. So something I'm grateful for is that social selling, we've worked, and because of people saying things like this, Greg, it's sharpened our saw of distinguishing what really is social selling and what isn't. We've done some shows. So I'm going to say I'm grateful for the opposition. I'm grateful for those that disagree with me. I'm grateful for the fact that somewhere in my life I learned, if I hate something, it's probably a good way for me to look in the mirror and find out what aspect of myself is unresolved. And that what you said just brought something I'm grateful for, is that the importance of understanding conflict is the doorway to new relationships, and really pushing my own edge, that many people who avoid it or want to be right versus happy are missing sometimes. And as a sales professional, why I love real sales professionals is they're a lot like athletes. They're willing to be uncomfortable to get the results they want in a way that many other people aren't willing to do. An Olympic athlete will do what it takes, obviously within ethical boundaries, to reach the goals they want as a ethical professional salesperson. So it's funny you said that, but that triggered one of the things I'm grateful for, is the opposition, this disagreement, people who don't agree with me, to use as a grindstone to make me stronger.
I'll second that. Because and to that point, you're right, and this is why Martin and I work together, at least, and this is why you're included with this as well, is because the three of us working together to kind of bring this out of each other, to kind of bring balance to, sometimes I get my idealistic way of thinking of how things should be, and I'm guilty of that, but I also got to I got to be thankful for the fact that you guys can kind of get me to take a step back and say, hold on a second, got to really consider that other perspective, right? And I think in social selling, you have to do that. But in anything you do in life, you have to do that. You have to take a step back for a second and reconsider the perspective. So to the guy from SAP who authored that article, thank you very much for continuing the discussion. I'm grateful for you. We'll link it into the show notes. And then also, Martin, we've had discussions and intellectual arguments, I would call them, about what we're doing with social selling in our approaches to it. I think that a lot of it is, we're also trying to keep each other, on the rails when it comes to this, and not taking and derailing the train that we have going. And I'm grateful for that, for having fantastic folks to work with. In addition, I'm also grateful for all of the guests we've had.
Yes.
We've had some fantastic, I think all of us are on this one, but we've had some awesome guests this year. I think we have a couple more that are going to be joining us before the end of the year. But they bring their intellect to the show, which we want. We want different perspectives to come in because we want to share them to the audience, right? Which, of course, we're grateful for you, the listener, and continuing to listen to this silly show about social selling. But very more importantly, we're very grateful for the guests that we've had on that have talked to us, that understand the importance of podcasting and getting ideas out there, no matter the size of the audience or anything like that. So again, my hat's off to everybody out there.
And before we hand it to Elyse, I'm grateful for this card. And this card I'm holding for our listeners has a picture of the three of us on it. And I've had more wonderful conversations with people where, I'd give them my business card, but then I'd listen and say, are you in sales or do you know someone involved in it? If they do, I hand them one of the cards and just tell them, we've got a leading social selling podcast that I'm really proud of that might be of interest to you. And then also right now, the free training that exists and how it's opened up some doors to find out that they used to be in sales before, or they have an uncle in sales. And really it's been an opening for other aspects of sales on the ground that would have never happened before if I kept this little card in my purse or pocket. So I don't have a purse. But I just want to say, I was in a restaurant and overheard a guy talking, and at table I said, I'm sitting next to you. Are you in? Didn't mean to interrupt, but are you in sales? And he said, yes, I sell furniture to the furniture industry, and talked to him about it. And I mentioned it, and I found out how still in the North Carolina furniture industry, it's a real high touch business. They aren't as much online in both areas. But he was very interested in learning about the show. And he said, could I have an extra one? I have a friend that's in medical sales. So, I want to say, if I hadn't taken that risk, I wouldn't have made all these new introductions and relationships along the way. Elyse, over to you.
Well, Martin, I feel like that was a subtle reminder to keep handing out more cards. So for all of our listeners, Martin has set up a challenge with me to see which of us can hand out more cards first. And Martin, I think you've probably won like 3 times over at this point. However, you would be very proud to know that I handed out 5 cards at a networking event on Wednesday night, and people were either really nice to my face or they were actually excited about it. So I'm handing them out. But I think it is funny that we use, an offline method to drive leads for a show about social selling, but it works really, really well. It does. I think the final thing that I'll share that I'm grateful for, both of you talked a little bit about sharpening the saw in what you shared previously. And one thing that I've noticed for myself, and probably people out there listening can relate to this too, is that the more visible you become online, the more it forces you to try to improve yourself. Now, I think there's different angles and different ways you can look at this, right? So some people would argue that, well, everyone online is just like a fake persona, right? We only show the best part of ourselves, which is true. Like for the most part, we're not going to share when we have an argument with our spouse or something on Facebook. We're going to share what one of my clients told me he calls Facebook moments. So all the highlights of our life. But at the same time, the more visible you become, whether it's blogging or doing videos or getting on a podcast like this, you're forced to improve your skill set. And so I think that that's a great byproduct of social selling and people building their online brand and persona, is that it does kind of force you to look at, how am I coming across to people? And do I need to take a class on writing skills, or do I need to learn how to become a better podcaster? And so there's a lot of personal growth that comes along with it. Well, and I'm like very early in that journey as a podcaster with you guys, but I think I've learned a lot from you guys and from you allowing this to be, an area where I learn kind of in real time. But I would encourage anyone who is working on building their personal brand online, think about, what are the platforms that I'm publishing the most content on? And is there a course I could take to get better on it? For example, socialselling.training. Wink, wink. Or maybe you take a podcasting course, whatever that thing is for you, but use it as an opportunity to grow and develop. And for me, it has been that. And so I'm grateful for that.
Awesome.
I want to add one thing to that, Elyse, and over to you, Greg. The quick thing is, to me, there are two ways of managing your public persona. You manage them as, this is my public persona, and then this is me in the background, the complaining, whining, opinionated me. And then there's one where you work to bring this one that usually involves the whines and complaints forward to make yourself a better person. And not that I always succeed at it, but that takes a lot less energy than trying to manage two, which apparently we found many of our politicians view that's what they should do. If the more you can work to let the public one inspire the private one. And that's, to me, what I hear you're saying, Elyse. And I think so. And I agree with you. I work at it and I succeed and fail some days. Greg, we'll let you take it and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah. So excellent. I think this has been good. Obviously, continuing education, extremely important. That's why we have such a great sponsor for that. That's why we're all passionate about teaching folks, how to do things, whether you take our approach or get inspired and create your own approach. I think that's important. I think that just will also prove what kind of a student you are. I was interested, actually, my daughter, who's going to be entering, my oldest one is going to be entering high school next year and going into 9th grade. And she's actually a really good student, right? Always getting straight A's, always on principal list. I don't think she's ever not been on principal's list in middle school. And so she's been offered an opportunity to apply for their IB program, which is the International Baccalaureate program. And we had a nice little session the other night this week. And we had got a chance to learn a little bit more about the program. It wasn't available at the school where I went, and it wasn't available where my wife went. So it's kind of interesting to learn a little bit about this program. But one of the things that stood out is, at least with this particular program, is that it actually helps students become an interpreter of knowledge rather than a receiver of knowledge. And I thought that was a very interesting perspective on how can we create, on basically what kind of a student you could be. Can you interpret the information that you're receiving and apply it and become a good citizen of, a good student of that particular knowledge? Or are you just receiving it? Is it just coming in but you're not really acting on it, right? So I think that we'll probably end up having like a social selling in 2017 podcast. And I think actually that might be a theme that we could consider running with, is that how are you interpreting the information that you're receiving, or are you just receiving it, right? And what kind of action are you going to be able to take from it? What kind of theories of knowledge can you pull together and actually explain why things are kind of happening? And I think that if you can develop that skill, your customer will greatly appreciate that. Because what we learned from earlier this year with the Challenger customer is that insight, not thought leadership, is really what customers are looking for. So maybe next year we can be better interpreters rather than receivers, as a thought.
Sounds great. Well, Greg, in our let's wrap it up and thank everyone. Thank you for all the listeners. Thank you for everyone who signed up to Social Selling Training. Thank you for all the wonderful guests. I'm so touched and moved when people go, "I've heard of your show. I'm excited about being on it." It really inspires me. And Greg, I'll let you wrap it up for the show.
All right. Also, hey, we're also thankful for good sunlight, right, Elyse?
Are you guys as blind as I am right now?
They cut your hair on that side of your face, right?
It looks kind of cool. We need to get a picture of that. We're gonna
She'll have a screenshot there for a second.
for the listener, the light's hitting her in a certain way. She has a window that lights, and I've got synthetic light here, so that's it.
Me too. It's definitely washing me out. Wow. Anyways, thank you everybody for listening to the Social Selling Podcast and all of our crazy rants. My name is Greg Hyer.
Martin Brossman.
Elyse Archer.
And Alexa. Alexa, goodbye.
Bye for now.
All right. Well, thank you very much for listening to the Social Selling Podcast. Don't forget that you can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/linkingsales. Don't forget to join our group on LinkedIn and follow our company page. Follow us on Twitter. Where else? Come out and like our page on Facebook. Subscribe to the podcast and let your friends know, let your colleagues know, help them, at least the ones that you like, get a competitive edge in social selling, and have a great rest of your year. We have some fantastic episodes coming up in the future. Don't forget to check them out. Y'all have a great day.